Hi, everyone. Can you hear me pretty well in the back? Since it's so quiet over here, I'm sure it's so easy to hear. Anyways, my name is Rafael Flores, Chief Product Officer at Treasure Data. Couldn't be more excited to spend my afternoon with you all. It's going to be a quick 20 minutes, but we're going to have a little bit of fun, okay? So with that, today we're going to talk a little bit about data chaos to AI magic. And everyone here has been talking about AI, but they're missing a critical piece, which is nobody's been talking about data, right? And so I am going to do that. And I'm going to try to bring it all together because at the end of the day, AI is only as good as what you feed it. That is what we say at our organization, and that is what I believe in also as a technologist, right? You need to ensure that you upgrade the human brain along with agentic by design products. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about, okay? Today, there's a lot of tools out there. They're just interfaces. You go and you chat, you put a prompt. That's just an interface. To many folks who may not know AI very well or are just trying to learn, that seems like a very agentic product, right? But it's not. It's just a chat prompt, calling on a model. It's not as powerful, right? What I want to talk about and what I want to focus on is actually the agentic brain that's underneath that, right? And if you really think about where AI is headed, a lot of people talk about, is it just hype, is it not? Are there credible use cases, are there not? Well, some are, some don't, right? And hopefully over the next 18 and a half minutes, I can help you understand what's going to work and what's not going to work. So you try to avoid some of the things that we have learned as an organization in supporting our customers who have embraced AI, right? And I wanted to start with the metric, which is actually pretty cool. It says, Gartner published a report saying that by 2027, 40% of AI-first projects will fail, right? There's 1,000 reasons why they may fail, but it's just a reality. And when you're thinking about investing into an AI-native product, you want to ensure that you're making the investment worth the while. You don't want to be part of the statistic in 2027 that says that 40% failed, right? So how do we make sure that you don't fail? It's all about identifying some of the gaps, right? And there's two critical gaps that I do want to emphasize. Number one, there's a readiness gap. And there's a readiness gap not so much just in terms of products, but also in terms of your organizations. You need to ensure that you're structured in the proper way in-house to even bring AI native products or AI first initiatives into those teams. You need to ensure that you have the right use cases, right? Use cases are still the same thing. A use case is a use case. It's there for a reason, right? You have to ensure that you know why you are bringing in those initiatives. Second problem, unifying disparate data. That's not going away, right? You can use AI to solve some of that, but if you have messy data, your AI is still not going to be that strong. And I'll walk you through an actual example, right? But you also have to think about the current markets, and this is a reality that we all deal with across the board. It's something we deal at Treasure Data, it's something I'm sure all of you deal with. And the reality is that the budgets are not changing. Budgets are a little bit constrained, whether you're IT or marketing. It's just a matter of fact, right? And the price to compete has actually gone up. To be able to get brand exposure, to be able to land customers, whether you're B2B, B2C, it's just tighter of a race. Everyone's trying to win this race, and it's just getting tighter. Because again, the budgets haven't changed very much, and the price to compete has gone up, right? And so it's a little bit chaotic. And then if you think about macroeconomics, everything going on in the world, it gets even messier, right? Every day you wake up, you got to think about AI, you got to think about, okay, what is going on next? So how can I help you leave that world, right, and get to a better place where you can actually go and find solutions to some of the problems that I have just talked about? And that's where customer data platforms come in, right? Treasure Data, historically, we have been a customer data platform. We have become an AI native marketing cloud with the marketing super agent at the top, right? And again, the reason why we have gone that route and the reason why I believe in that mission is because your AI is as good as the data you feed it. And there's a very much value in your first party data. CDPs allow you to do that. If you utilize quality data, you can implement agents that actually allow you to be a superhuman. Now, I don't believe that AI and agents are here to take your job away. And I kind of chuckle at that because I'm sure some people say that, or some of you may believe it. This is my own opinion. But as an organization, we also believe in that. because we believe that making you a superhuman is giving you the right tooling or the right AI products to make you successful, regardless of what functional department you sit in. Because ultimately, what we want to do is we want to help IT and marketers become superhumans and drive customer experience, right? That is the job that many of you do. And it's not just about what marketing wants or what IT wants, it's ultimately what drives your business forward, right? And this friction or this dilemma has been around for a long, long time. Marketing wants this, IT complains, IT doesn't want to repipeline, marketing complains. Well, how can we ensure that both teams get the right tooling to ensure that they can succeed? Because ultimately their success is joint, it's not disparate, as much as their data can also not be disparate. Some of the common pitfalls that we see, right, as we work with a lot of Global 2000 brands, there's 4. Scale, right? If you have limited memory, limited context in your AI, it's hard to scale it. And it's not just scale in the sense of performance, it's scale in the sense also of your use cases. What are you trying to serve? Number 2, there's a common dilemma. Do we build, do we buy, right? It depends. How are you structured in-house? If you have highly technical teams and you're ahead on the AI ballgame, then you should probably continue down that path and find ways to accelerate or augment that with vendors. If you don't have those teams, then you should probably be buy first, right? Because it's going to be a heavy investment and a big uplift to try to do it yourself. Data quality. We talked about this. I cannot emphasize that enough, right? Data quality matters. AI is not just going to solve every single one of your problems. If you go into ChatGPT today and you give it a bad prompt, that is bad data quality. That is also going to be a bad response. And that is not a bad model. It's just your prompt was bad, right? And so if you're also giving that to your autonomous engines in the background, bad data, bad output. And then AI adoption. It's a real challenge, right? Every company that I meet with, every CMO that I talk to, it's not just about embracing AI. It's also, okay, how do we make the best of it? How do we ensure that we consume those credits? How do we make sure that we actually engage and our teams are going to go and chat, right, with those interfaces? That's a real pitfall. And that, again, ties to the fact that you need to ensure that you have use cases at the top. You can't talk about adoption if you don't talk about the use case for the business, right? And so there's 5 tips that I'll give you to ensure that your AI actually succeeds and works. Now, you can see them all here. I see some of you taking photos. I'll wait a quick second, but I'll go through them one at a time. Okay, and we'll dive into the weeds of it. Number 1, you have to ensure that when you look at an AI vendor and you have at the top of your mind the concept of AI and data equals the proper personalized experiences, you got to ensure that they can do identity resolve memory. What does that mean? That means giving you a source of truth profile, right? The golden record era is, to me, dead. Today, you're more entering an era of the diamond record, something that you're more in control of, something that's not just deterministic or probabilistic in nature, but it's agentic in nature, right? That you have full control, that you can fully trust, so that when you target that person, it's actually the person you need to target. And it's not just wasting precious marketing and IT dollars. Number 2, context at inference. Every interaction matters more than ever, right? The concept of real time matters now more than ever. Why? If you have the latest behaviors, forget about attributes, forget about just the profile. If you have the latest behaviors to the milliseconds, right? You actually ensure that anything you put on autopilot is being delivered at the right time to the right person across the right channel. If you don't have that, you could be missing a moment. And many of you have seen that, right? How many of you here in the audience have made a purchase and then you get an email the next day or the same day saying, hey, you should go and purchase X. But you just bought it, you already bought it. And you're not the only one that got that email. Imagine how many of those emails went out. That also means you spent some bucks sending those emails out, or somebody did, right? It cost the company something, it wasn't free. Because it's not context at inference, it's not in real time. You need to ensure your AI vendors work and operate in real time. Number 3, governance and trust. Extremely important. You don't want to be that automotive company that put a chatbot on their website and suddenly somebody was able to go and get a free car. You'll make the news, free brand dollars, right? But not for good reason. And so you have to ensure that you're built on the concept of trust. It's not so much just the data, right? It's also the AI. If you can trust the data and you can trust the AI, you can actually use that vendor. I always tell our customers, right? They always come to us and say, hey, why should we use your AI product versus X versus Y? Why should we trust it? And my answer to them is the same answer I'll give you all, which is, you already trust us with your most critical resource, and that is all the IP of PI information you have of your consumers or your shoppers or who you're trying to target, right? If something was to happen to that data, they will actually have major lawsuits. But they trust us because we have a proven record with it. So if you trust us with your data, you can trust us with our AI as well, right? But you have to have this at the forefront. And one of the reasons we're here at AWS is we work very closely with them, right? We use Bedrock within our architecture because of all the bells and whistles it comes with from a trust and governance standpoint to ensure that our brands that we serve can actually operate and they're not worried that they're going to get a lawsuit because their AI or their data broke. Number 4, feedback loops. It's not just getting data in real time, it's also iterating on that data, right? If you go and build a journey, how many of you here are familiar with journeys? There's a few, okay. If you go and you build a journey is a path of, hey, this profile here, Rafa Flores, a treasured data, who likes to buy X car, goes down a journey of how do we get him to actually purchase the next vehicle across different channels based on different signals. Well, any pivot in me as a potential buyer should be accounted for in that journey, which means you need to account for feedback loops, because any change that I do in my actions or interactions needs to be accounted for in those feedback loops. And it has to, again, be in real time. If you miss the moment, you miss the moment. You won't get it back. Okay, so you got to capture the signals. You got to make sure you iterate on it. Number 5, it has to be an extensible ecosystem. What do I mean by that? Right? It sounds like 2 big words and something that I just pull out of a hat. In the world of data platforms, there's a concept of where should the data reside? Should it sit in my data warehouse? Should it sit in my activation channel? Should it sit in my CDP? What do I do with it? It doesn't matter, right? Wherever your data sits, you need to have a vendor that can pull that data without charging you extra for it, so you could use it, right? And the concept of composability has really risen in the past few months because companies are trying to adopt and embrace AI. And so when they're trying to get an agent out the door, they want to feed it all the data they have. And that data could be in a lot of systems, right? The MarTech stack or AdTech stack, it's pretty broad. And so you should be able to pull that, right? And so that means that you got to make sure that you have an open ecosystem. And here's a great example. I love this visual because when we talk about composability and where should the data reside for your AI, everyone talks about zero copy, right? We need to have zero copy. We need to ensure that we can just move the data, free flowing, et cetera. The concept of zero copy, and I can tell you this from a very technical background of mine, doesn't really exist. If any vendor tells you that they are zero copy, that's actually not true. There's always some sort of copy for a specific set of use cases. If you want to do things in real time, you have to have a copy of that data in your activation channel because you have to have a trigger that actually goes and engages that person or engages that brand. That's a copy. It's not zero copy, that's a copy, right? And so when you really think about it, historically, if you go back many years ago, you had 4 copies. Your systems, I wish I had a pointer. Okay. Your systems, data warehouse, CDP, email service provider. And then we moved away from that, right? And we said, well, composable CDPs. Now you have the channel where the data is coming from to your data warehouse to your activation layer. Well, in this new world, if you really want to be in a zero copy type of environment, your data is always going to come in from a specific touch point into your data warehouse, and it should be able to flow anywhere, right? It shouldn't have to sit in your CDP. It shouldn't have to sit in your email service provider. You should be able to really pull it from anywhere you want. But again, there's 2 copies. So if there's anything you take away from this, other than the fact that we're cool and badass at treasure data, take it that there's no such a thing as zero copy in the world. Where does that bring us, right? I want you to actually meet something that's really cool in this new era of agent and intelligence, right? And we talked about earlier the interface versus the brain. Every prompt, every chat you go on, again, interface. But you need more than that. And if you bring in the right data, you make it agentic by design. Now, this is our latest product. It's called Marketing Super Agent. Now, what it does is it's connected to your first-party data. So it's not just going and calling on models and pulling in deep research information or doing deep analysis from anywhere in the web, which is powerful, don't get me wrong, but you have valuable resources. You have first-party data in-house today. This allows you to pull from that plus everything else. So if you want to go on here and just create a nurture journey campaign, you can, right? And it's doing everything. Campaign programs, is looking at content, it's creating digital assets, it's looking at competitive landscape, and it's doing the data analysis within your CDP or within your data warehouse, wherever your data resides. Now, this is a 30-second clip of it. If you want to learn more, you can go to booth 235. We'll show you a full demo of it. But that is what we talked about when we state, hey, we need to ensure that you use agentic by design products, right? The agentic brain. Because the brain is as good as you train it. Your model is as good as you train it with the right data set. It's very simple. Every company is going to have agents. We have them. Many vendors here have them. It's nothing new. The ones that are going to win are those that actually have brains that are powered by data that's contextual. It goes back to, again, being able to give context on inference. It's going to be governed. It goes back to trust and governance. And it's going to be in real time, because you need to account for every single interaction to make it meaningful and be impactful. Now, I said earlier that AI is not going to replace your team or you, right? And I do believe that. I've heard the whole era of BDRs are going to go and disappear. This has been a dilemma for the last 20 years. And poor BDRs are still around, and they serve a good purpose, right? And right now, there's a lot of that going on, and there's a lot of fear that AI is racing. Don't be scared of AI. My biggest advice to you is embrace it. Embrace it to your advantage. Make the best of it. Use it as a tool. I use it as CPO of this company. I love this quote. And the reason why I love this quote is from a head of product over at Google. He said the 80-20 rule, which I agree with, right? If you can put 80% of things on autopilot, the mundane things, the things that you don't want to do, the things that you go and clock into your job and you just say, oh man, I got to do that report again, right? But there's that 20% that's always going to require the human element. Focus 100% of your time on that 20%. And that'll make it so much more impactful. Because in the current era of AI, you need to be able to focus. You can't put everything on autopilot. Some things are going to be co-pilot, some things you're always going to have to do. Brand guidance reviews. The feelings you want to evoke as a brand or company, they come from you to a human, right? So there's humans in the loop. And I want you to take that away from this session as well. So with that, I got 2 minutes left. Thank you so much. I can take a question or two before they boot me off, but any questions?